You're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast, exposing the struggles and celebrating the successes in the life of coaches who are action takers and creating authentic impact in today's world. Whether you're just starting out, expanding your reach, or exploding your impact, you're in the right place right now. Stay tuned and be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Now, here are your hosts of the Coach's Journey podcast.
All right, we are live here on our podcast. Welcome to the Coach's Journey podcast. Hey, this is Daniel here. I'm here with Faisal, and we just wanted to jump right into this episode and tell you all about the 3 things you should never forget when you're doing a coaching sales call. Now, coaching sales calls are different than normal sales calls. Coaching sales calls are not normal sales calls in many senses of the word, because a coaching sales call is selling something very different than a widget or even an online program. It's a very different kind of game. So we want to talk about the 3 things that in a coaching sales call, you want to not forget to do. So stay tuned. This entire podcast will be awesome. We might even drop more than 3. So, because we have so many things we could talk about, but there's 3 big ones we want to talk to you about. If you don't know how to do sales calls, or if you are struggling to convert people in your sales calls, really focus on how you're doing these 3 things. And we'll get into each of those. And so just really quick, we are sponsored by Coaching Mastery Community, and there's so many people are joining that program just for the community aspects. And we do have lots of paid programs that will help you in your coaching journey. But for now, this podcast, totally free. We just want to support you in any way that we can. Faisal, did I forget anything before we jump right in here?
Yes, we actually do regular master classes for coaches, and we do them for free within our community. The next one is coming up on the 16th. And it's going to be actually on how you structure your sales call, delivery call that you do. And we've done this before. We've had such a great turnaround on that. And the feedback we've received that, if I had the structure, my calls would be much better from the coaches that are here. That's going to be on the 16th of October. We're going to share the link by Monday. So if you want access to that, if you're in the Facebook group, just type #delivery below. We'll be able to send it to you personally. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, please make sure you podcast or YouTube, make sure you leave a review, like it, share with any coaches that you might know, because the reason why you started this, because we know that coaches are struggling in this area. 90% of the coaches are not making enough. They're not serving people at the highest level, and we want to change that in our community. And not because, we think that we're better. We have gone through that journey. We've struggled through that process ourselves. We're not just random people that created this community. We're coaches who are actually serving people right now outside of this community and doing this work.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm so excited for you to learn more and join our community because of how it's going to help you as a coach. But I'm also really excited to talk today about some of the things we've learned along that journey. So really, really excited for our 3 things. Faisal, do you want to just jump right in?
Yes, and you might want to wait for the 3rd one, because that's probably the most important one, because the first 2 is actually how every sales call is. There is a foundational element of sales calls, and that's part of coaching as well. Because just maybe I'll get started with a few mindset things. The reason why we put sales call is on purpose, because a lot of coaches are afraid of calling it sales. And that's very important to think about, is that first call where you're serving client, where you're actually coaching them, that is a sales call, because there is an offer associated with that. You want to support them moving forward. They feel aligned with that journey. And a lot of coaches, they have their own challenges with sales. So as a starting point, if you have a problem with the term sales, money, business, anything like that, those are things you need to deal with in your psychology, because that's something you're going to project and bring into your into your coaching calls, and it's not going to serve the client or you, and it's going to negatively impact your business and the client.
That is so awesome. That's not even the first one, but what Faisal just said is so important. Because so many coaches, they're afraid of sales because sales sounds pushy. It sounds slimy. Ooh, sales. I don't want to sell people stuff. And actually, maybe you do, if that stuff actually is what they want and good for them. So sometimes if you want to get over the issue, think of sales as a synonym for impact, right? You need it in your business. Otherwise, you're never going to coach long-term. You're never going to be able to make it as a coach if you don't make sales. So therefore, how can you do that sale, be authentic, be serving the person, have a real impact? That happens not only in your coaching program, but also in your sales. That's part of the program. Whether they sign up or not, you're always helping people, serving them, through the impact you can create in the sales conversation. You want to know how to create that impact? We're going to tell you 3 things right now that can almost guarantee you're going to have a positive, powerful impact on the person you're with in your sales call, even if they don't sign up for your program. And who doesn't feel good about that, right? They left a sales call improved, better, and maybe some of them will want to join you in your program. Like, that's a win-win for everybody. So when you think about sales, think about it as a win-win, not just, hey, you make me money, it's about me. No. It's, I'm here to make a difference for somebody. It's a sales, it's an impact. It's part of helping and serving.
Yeah, and I love that, because and then the first part of coaching and for anybody is your client zero, and you need to figure out, and this is as much as we want to believe that, but coaches are not immune to blind spots, blind spots, challenges, and all that stuff. Yes, we've gone through a journey. We have struggled with a lot of things. We've worked through quite a few things, but this is a new challenge, especially if you're building a business. It's actually incredibly difficult. You're going to run into a lot of challenges emotionally, mentally, and learning a lot of skill sets that are not familiar to you. And there's a lot more happening than you would imagine. And so kind of having the grace, but also understanding that you need to go through that growth journey. So taking care of this before you get on a sales call is very important. So that doesn't mean that you shouldn't do sales calls. Just be intentional, be aware that those things might show up. So jumping into the first point, and this is
before you say the first point, I want to say like, even people, so that what Faisal just said is true. If you don't have sales experience, you might struggle with the sales process. But even if you do have sales experience in a coaching context, you may still struggle. I was thinking about somebody I know who has a great sales background, but the coaching sale is a little bit different than your typical sales background. There's some definite things that are the same and similar skill sets that you need, but in coaching, it's even a little bit different. It's one of the reasons that even for an experienced salesperson, they sometimes struggle with setting up and making those sales calls because they're not thinking, they're worried, their own stuff as a human is wrapped up in there, their own resistances, their own insecurities. And so today we're going to talk about, hey, the 3 things are going to help you with your own insecurities, because it's not about you anymore. It's about the client. Yeah. So let's jump into that first one, Faisal.
Yeah, I love that. Before I was going to keep delaying the first one, but you gave me off a story. So what actually, a couple of our members, one of them had a sales background, which is actually a benefit in the coaching world, but it does not mean that you'll be really good at it. You will start off in a good spot, but you need to tweak quite a few things. And one person came from a sales background, the other one business. Both of them were struggling. I got on a call with them. Actually, one of them, he's actually doing very well right now. He's not even in our program yet. He's actually considering joining the program right now. But now, when we had a conversation a few months ago, he's like, I come from a sales background. I understand outreach. I understand prospecting. He was doing all that stuff. And then I'm like, okay, that's great. You know all that, because most coaches struggle with that. Then I kind of dug in a little bit. What is he doing within his sales call? And he was missing a key point, which we're going to share at the end of this. But all he had to do is
point number 3.
Point number 3. All we had to do was tweak that. And he went from just making a few hundred a month to right now he's making $6,000 a month. And he didn't even join the program. He just got that one value, and he's like, I did very well. And he realized later, he's like, this is tough. You need support. You need a community. So he literally reached out to me last week. He's like, if you still have your program, I need help. And when I got on a call with him, he's like, I'm doing very well, but this is a struggle when you do it on your own. And he has a sales background. He's actually a really good salesperson. And this is where a community, even when you know the direction, you will make some movement forward, but you need the support, constant feedback to move your business forward. That's why we're here. So let's jump in. Are we ready to jump in the first point?
Okay. Point number 1, I'm going to give it a name. It's vision. Point number 1 is vision. I think if I saw, we can have a discussion about this. I think one of the most important things in coaching sales calls, but also in many other types of sales calls, is to help understand the client. What does the client or the potential client or the prospect, whatever you want to call them, or the person, the human in front of you, what do they want? Ultimately, what do they want in life, in the area that you coach in? What is the lighthouse that they're aiming for, right? Like, what are some of the things that really matter to them? Like, can you paint that vision clearly? So number 1 is, I would say, if I was to say it really short, paint a vision of what the goal is. What does this person want?
Yeah, I love that. And actually it's not just a coaching thing. And this is why the call, you can name it different things. You can call it a sales call, an influence call, a coaching call. They're all very similar to each other. But even in normal day-to-day conversation, let's think about somebody who wants to give advice. Most people just jump in and say, hey, you should do this, but they don't understand what they're trying to do. They don't fully understand the outcome. They don't understand what they're trying to create. They're just spilling a bunch of stuff that might or might not be useful. That's why most advice is garbage, because it just doesn't work. They don't understand if it applies to them or not. And they haven't done enough digging. This is why coaching works. And the first part of coaching is to actually understand what the client is looking for, but actually more importantly, get them to understand what they're looking for.
Yeah, the point you're making, Faisal, is so important. You can't just go ahead and paint the vision. Like, most clients will not have that much clarity about their vision. Some of them will, and some of them won't. A lot of clients will go in and like, I'm not sure what I want, and helping them figure out how to paint that picture can be so valuable in that call. Even if they don't buy coaching, for them, you just change their life, right? If you can help them get clear on what they want, like, you're listening to this call right now. Do you know exactly what you want? Like,
Yeah.
what do you want in life, in business, and coaching? Do you have any of that definition? You might have some. Hope you start doing some journaling if you don't. But getting your client to express those things that come. I mean, sometimes what you want is like the opposite of like something you just experienced. So like, I just had this happen. I know I don't want that. I want this. And so like, you can help them along the way to clarify. This is about clarity and clarifying. And in one session, they're not going to probably get total clarity on everything, because like, otherwise life wouldn't be a struggle and coaching wouldn't be a thing. It's because it's really challenging for people to define what they want oftentimes. And sometimes what they want isn't actually what they want until they go a little deeper. And so this is what you're helping them do: define what it is that they actually want.
Yeah, I actually got off a call this morning. I had a call with one of my clients, and I've gone through 18 sessions with them around that. And I've already walked him through his vision. He was very clear about it. And the call was around congruence and alignment. And actually part of that, I actually got him reconnected with that vision and see that future version of himself. And he had his eyes closed. He's like, I was connected to my vision, but I just experienced a different level of that connection. So, because he was struggling with procrastination and overthinking and a bunch of stuff. And I saw that there was a disconnect between what he was doing and what was important to him. And what connected with him is that, the little task that I'm doing, the consistent, it's not just a task, it's connected to my purpose. It's connected to the thing that matters to me. And his mind wasn't able to make those connections. And by the end of the call, he's like, holy shit, I thought I knew my vision until I just did this. I was like, oh, that's incredible. So it's 18 sessions. And usually every session is about clarity. It might be around a different thing, but there's clarity that they're getting about themselves, about their path forward. But it takes a lot to get people to become clear. In fact, most of my clients have gone through at least over the course of a year, 10, 15 times their vision building process for them to understand in their strategy. So with coaches, so looking at coaches, it's very important for them to understand what they want. A lot of times coaches don't know what they want and then they struggle with sales because they don't associate that vision with that they have in their life that the coaching business is going to give them. Part of it is the meaning and impact, but part of it is the abundance they create through this business. They don't understand. Their mind doesn't know the connection between the sales calls, the impact they're making versus the big vision that they're creating. They haven't thought this through enough.
Yeah. So you're making a super important distinction too, subtly here, Faisal. Even so, you can spend a year weekly with somebody clarifying a vision and integrating it into their soul, so they feel it every day. And also it'll change over time because they're going to learn things. But in that first session, the impact session, the sales session that we're talking about here, getting them to feel something is really, really important when you're painting that vision. Getting to really feel it deeply. And one of the ways that I like to do that is to really like ask them, like, what was the most important part of that? Like, they're telling you all about what they want in life and business and relationships, and you can prompt them for those things. And like, what's the most important right now for you in this moment, right? And really get them to feel why that's important, and like having that, what it would get them, like those emotional connections they can make to their vision. They may have never felt their vision so deeply as in that part of the conversation. And having that emotional connection for them, whether they sign up or not, will be so valuable to them in creating that. It'll give them that much more momentum towards it. And coaching with you obviously will give them a lot more momentum. One thing I like to do is tell them, in the first few sessions, we're going to really dial that in better. And sometimes it lasts 20 sessions, like Faisal was saying, to really get the vision clear. And that's okay. It's different for everybody, but we really want to get clear on that vision and dial it into your heart. That's what we're going to start our coaching program with, because once you have that, now you can decide what direction to go in with people, right? So that, like, part one is paint that vision, make them feel something about that vision. That's so important.
Yeah, for sure. And then, by the way, the feeling part is the more important part, because a lot of people will spill out what they want if they've thought about it to some degree, but it's very automatic, it's very mental until they get reconnected with it. And we'll talk about that in the third point, because you need some coaching tools to be able to do some of those things. So the first part is helping them figure out the outcome. And then the second part of it is what's in the way. What are the challenges they're having?
Yeah, some people call these the pains. Some people call them the struggles. Some people call them the challenges, the obstacles. And a lot of time, whether you know your vision or not, you may or may not still know what those are. You may be feeling them. You may be feeling in your life that things aren't working, things are in the way, things are like really creating resistance for you, but you may not know what those things are or how they're affecting you. And that's a really big part of this. So like helping clients articulate what those struggles, pains, resistances, challenges, obstacles are on the path to that vision, which they may not even realize was the vision until they had this conversation. But it's like, can they articulate it? And if they can't, help them articulate it.
So this is a really cool point, because when we were talking about this before, Daniel and I, we were talking about this topic, and I shared something, and I was like adding value. But this, like, if you're new in coaching, you might not notice it, but the fact that you're walking them through this process is the actual value of the session. It's huge. They might have never thought about this in the way that you're doing it. So, for example, I work with a lot of investors. Their whole idea of their vision is, I just want a life of freedom. Like they will have a couple of pieces in there, but it's very surface, and it's
what does that mean?
They don't know, and they're given the words, like they're fed the words by some influencer or somebody saying that, oh, like, I want to do what I want, when I want it, wherever I want, whoever I want to do it. They all say it like in that order, and I know that it's not them; it's somebody else has painted that picture for them. They haven't done the digging, but when you go actually deeper, it's actually very unique for every person. There are some general themes for everybody around time freedom and resource freedom and financial freedom and their relationships. But the uniqueness comes out when you go to the details of people's lives and what they feel around that. And then within that, now they start to, when we go into the challenges in the beginning, one, like Daniel said, it might be the first time for them to even go into the details. Two, whatever challenges they thought might not even be the actual challenge. So this is where a lot of novice coaches, they might go in there saying like, let me jump in and help them figure out that challenge. That might not be the challenge. Go a little bit deeper, do some digging around how are they thinking about the challenge? What are they realizing in relation to that vision now? What might be in their way? And what I'm, at least in my sessions, what I'm looking for is a big challenge, like it's something that they do not know how to resolve, something that they're stuck in. And I'll give some examples, but I want to hear Daniel's take on this too.
I like to get like as many challenges that are in the way of the vision as possible. Like get them because here's the thing. If they say the one big challenge or the one small challenge and they see like some hope to solving that, they may not recognize that there's 50 different challenges that are actually stopping them. It's like that. It's like there's a boat in the harbor, right? And it's got all the ropes, and you might be able to cut that one rope and the boat moves an inch, but it's still got 49 ropes. You want to identify what are all the ropes that are preventing you from moving forward, as many as you can. I like to go, what else, and then like we'll get a feel for like what are the big ones, like what are the real big ones, the ones that you can't solve in one session, the ones that you can't solve in one thought or one action step, because the reason they're talking to you most likely is because these are more complex problems. They're more difficult problems, and they're not going to be simple solutions. Whereas everybody's looking for that bullet. Oh, if I have this call, I'm going to get the silver bullet. It's going to solve all my problems. It's like, no, we got to do the work, cut the ropes, and figure out what all those challenges are. And so as many, you want to generate as big a landscape as you can on the vision and the challenges. That way you have identified a huge amount of things that are really important to them and that are really going to hold them back in order to achieve what they're trying to achieve, right? And so then from there, you can find, I think I agree with you, Faisal, that you can find something big that's really like, what's the hardest one? What's the one that feels the most challenging? And look, why does that feel so challenging? Is a really good conversation to have so you can get clarity on the obstacles that are like the highest weight in their hearts. And then why is that so hard is like, what get them to feel that too. Feeling the vision, feeling the pain of the challenge, of the struggle, those are the important pieces of getting them to really connect to what's true for them.
Yeah, I love that. And that Daniel clarified what I was trying to say. So the only way you're going to find out what the big challenge is if you explore all the challenges and give them the space to help you understand how long have they been dealing with this? What have they done to work through this? What have been the actual struggles in there? And what is it that they deal with in their day-to-day life? Because ultimately what's going to matter is, and I'll give you some examples around this. A few of the clients that have signed up with me for the past few years, like the big challenges show up in these forms. This might not be true for everybody, but for some. So for one client, he had done so much work. He was a professional athlete. He's an investor, a bunch of stuff he was doing. Like if you look at him, he's like an incredible high achiever and he's built an amazing external life. But then when we went into the conversation, you know what he was seeking? He literally spelled it out and I could feel his pain when he's like, you know what I want more than anything else? Because I think that's what he saw. And this is what you model as a coach as well, as like whatever you've worked on will show for clients. He might have just subconsciously seen that. And he's like, you know what I want? He's like, I want 50, and he literally put it this way, I want 15 minutes of peace in my mind. And I have a feeling that you have that. He didn't know if he checked in with me. He's like, do you? I was like, okay. It was like, what would that look like in your life? Can you describe? He's like, when I'm sitting with my family, I just want to be there and I don't want to have to worry about all the shit that I have to do and all the things that I have to take care of. When I'm sitting with myself, I don't want to have to feel guilty. I don't want to have to feel shame. And like, it might have not seemed much, but when we dug into there, is like, he has been trying to work that out for years. He did not know what to do in that area. And that's there.
And that what you've done in that conversation, Faisal, you've identified not only what he actually wants, this is a big part of his actual vision, like peace of mind. Like that's a big part of the vision. And he might have said like, oh, I want my income to be here and I want my, relationship to be there. But what he actually is driving a lot of it is peace of mind. And so to me, he needs a peace of mind coaching program. Might be the way you name that program for him. But what you're doing in this process is identifying all the things that are taken away from his peace of mind and all the obstacles that why haven't you gotten that peace of mind, right? What has been in the way? What's in the way right now? And like, how does that feel? Like, what's it doing to your relationship, your finances, all those things that he said wasn't what he wanted, right? And what's it doing to your peace of mind, right? Having them feel that. When people say like, when people really connect deeply to what they want and feel it, and people connect really to what's in the way and feel it, there's a transformation that happens. They realize like things about themselves itself. And that's why I love calling these sessions discovery sessions, because you're learning a lot about the client, but they're learning about themselves. Like that's the most valuable thing, is like discovering things about yourself that you couldn't see before, or that you didn't take the time to reflect enough with the right, prompts to be able to see. Right. So I love the word discovery for this process, because those first 2 points are all about discovering the client's vision and the client's struggles, basically. And for them discovering it too, most of the time.
Yeah. And you're also pointing to you're also pointing to the purpose of these calls. Yes, the purpose is to serve them, support them, but actually the bigger purpose in these calls is to help them make a decision that moves them forward in the direction of what matters to them. And if that decision is get the support that they need, this is why they need to feel the pain. A lot of people make decisions more out of pain than they make out of like what they see. And this is why we need to, and this is not as a way, well, I want to give them pain. No, most people don't feel their life in general. But when they actually feel their vision, when they actually feel what they're going through, you're connecting them to their life. You're not making them feel pain. You're actually connecting them to what's happening in their life. They might be avoiding all sorts of things. I mean, they might be struggling in their relationship. They might be struggling in their business, but they don't feel it because they're in their mind and they're in their head and they're just going through the motions. But when they feel it in that call, they see the significance of it. And then the last point, and there's so much in here, by the way, we're going to cover all this.
I was like, wait. Making people feel pain is hard for a lot of coaches, but the reason they're talking to you is they haven't felt the pain deeply enough to actually do the right things about it or figure out what to do. They've been putting off feeling this pain, and they've been therefore putting off solving the pain. And the conversation with you stops them so that they can actually feel that pain and actually make a decision to do something about that pain. And you're there with them, supporting them. They will feel that you could be the help that they need on this path. And if you know that you can help them on this path, and they know that you can help them on this path, the decision might be, let's coach together so I can solve this pain together. Right? That might be the right next step for them. And you can do that in integrity if you believe that. Right? So what's point number 3? Let's we don't have tons of time left. So let's try to get point number 3 in here. We've talked all around it so many times already. So
go ahead, Daniel. You can.
No, you go ahead, Faisal.
Yeah. And so just keep in mind, there's a lot in here where we're trying, like, it might sound overwhelming to hear this stuff, especially if you're starting out, but know that we're doing a 2-hour masterclass on this. So we go into the actual framework of how we do each pieces on the 16th. So if you want access to that, just type #delivery. If you're listening to this on podcast or video, you can actually type that in the comments there too, or send us a message at support@coachingmasterycommunity.com, or join our Facebook group. You'll see the links. But the third point is, this is where the coaching sales call is very different from a normal sales call. A normal sales call, this is where you've got them to explore the vision, the outcome, the goal they have, and then you've gotten them to explore the challenges, the obstacles in the way, and then the middle, the gap, is where your program comes in. So in a lot of sales calls, they will just share, hey, this can help you moving forward. And that might even be enough to some degree, depending on how high ticket your program is. And this is where, if you're selling a higher ticket program, you want to do some work in here. Plus, they need to see what coaching is, because most people don't understand it. So based on the challenges that they've shared, if you've identified 1 or 2 big challenges in there, you're actually helping them through that with your coaching process and tools. So this is where your tools come in as coaches, and your modality will determine what kind of tools you use, whether you're a high performance coach, transformational coach, conscious parenting coach, or some other compassion inquiry coach, whatever coaching you do, your tools, or NLP, your tools will come in useful to help them through a part of that challenge. And they actually see that you can actually support them. So they see that you're competent enough to help them. And also, they don't just see the call as, hey, I just got on a call to do that. Even though the discovery is very helpful, this helps them give them a better view of what your coaching is going to be about when you talk about the offer. Because what it will literally be like by the end of the call is that, hey, was that helpful? Would you like more of that kind of support? And then you're just describing your program of how you're going to work with them. So you're bridging the gap, but you're doing it by demonstrating your coaching process, so they understand it in experience rather than you talking about it in concept.
I love that, Faisal. And if anybody missed it, point number 3 is demonstrate coaching. That's what Faisal is talking about. You need to demonstrate what coaching is. Most people will not know, or maybe they might think they know, but they haven't experienced it with you. Like, the difference with, and Faisal said a normal sales call is where you do the vision and the pain. Actually, I think a normal sales call is usually not that discovery oriented. Like, a lot of sales calls will be like, hey, here's what we do. This is why you need it. Buy it now, buy it now. And so, like, that's like to me, the vast majority of sales calls are terrible. Nobody wants them. But when people have these sales calls with you, you probably don't even need to call them sales calls for the customer, but in your own mind, you can call them an impact or sales call. When people come in these calls with you, they should expect to have a very life-changing conversation. That's the beauty of this format and this key thing, the sales call. If you just did the vision and the struggles alone, that will be life-changing. You probably could make an offer if you did that coaching really well to clarify. Clarification coaching is coaching. But what Faisal was getting at, there's another level of coaching that you can do, which is actually give them progress in a specific struggle or vision area. Like, find the thing that is going to actually make them feel that they can make progress. That's a valuable thing on their own. If they leave the call, didn't buy coaching, but actually feel more agency within themselves, more able to move forward, and they feel like they've progressed, they've got some additional clarity, you can feel really good about what you just did. And it's not a salesy, pushy kind of salesy feeling. It's an impactful sales feeling. And that's really important for you to feel that, whether they sign up or not. If you leave that call knowing that you made a difference because you coached them a little bit and they made some progress, if you can leave knowing that and do that enough times, you will be unstoppable, because you have that confidence within that that's what you're doing, not just selling stuff to people, right? For sure, you need to eventually convert and sell people into your programs, you need to be able to have confidence that you can do that. But if you can get these sales calls down, you're going to gain that confidence so quickly that you're actually helping people.
Yeah. And there's so much in there that we can talk about. Even our 2-hour master classes are not enough, but we at least give you the framework exactly of how we do these calls. And it's based on the actual real life experience of doing 2,000 plus calls. And we're bringing together the knowledge of the community as well of how different members are doing these calls. So it's actual feedback from the marketplace. That's very rare. We're not just giving you some theoretical knowledge. We're giving you practical experiential knowledge of what's happening. And then you can take that as a guideline and tweak it and experiment with it. We're going to cover that on the 16th of October, 2023. If you're listening to this after or before or whenever, you can just send us a message or go to one of the links below. And we usually record these calls. We'd be happy to share the recording for the call, or we'd be happy to share the link to register for these calls. Consider these 3 areas. And the last part, the demonstration part, will depend heavily on your coaching model as well, what tools you bring, and we don't have time to go into a lot of that, but we will be covering that on our delivery masterclass coming up. Other than that, share this video with coaches, because most coaches don't even know where to get started with this thing. Even if they're trained as a coach, they're not told in these simple terms what you need to do in these calls. They're given a complicated framework to work through, or no framework at all. And they have no idea, because they don't have a business background, for one thing. And 2, they haven't done this enough to know what to do. This might be very helpful for them. Actually, this will be, but I would have wanted to listen to something like this a few years ago.
Yeah. Aim to do 100 calls where you clarify a vision, clarify struggles, make them feel both of those things, do a little coaching, move them forward, and hopefully also make an offer if it's the right thing to do next. If it's not, then don't, right? If it's not the right fit, you can say, like, it's not going to be a good fit. Hopefully this call served you, right? And here's some serve every time.
Yes.
And make offers when it's right for the client, right?
Yes. And if you haven't joined our community, please do, because we're consistently sharing these, going deeper into these areas. Tomorrow we have a mastermind discussion around this. We're going to go deeper in our mastermind discussion that we broadcast live. We have so much value in our community, and people have said that there's more value in our free program than there is in a lot of people's paid program, and you want to be part of that. And that's by intention, because we want to support you to at least get started and connect with some clients. And then on the back end, we do have programs that we can support you with to help you build a profitable and sustainable business so you can serve people in a bigger way. Until our next conversation, hope you have an incredible week. Please share your thoughts and insights below if you're listening to it live, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Bye.
Take care.
You're listening to the Coach's Journey podcast.